In this lecture, we are going to discuss two major topics. The first one is information and decision making. And in this topic, we are going to explain first information and information systems. Second, the manager as information processor. Third, types of decision environments. Fourth, the decision-making process. Fifth, decision-making models. The second topic is planning processes and techniques. And we are going to explain first why and how do managers plan. Second, what types of plans do managers use. Third, what are some useful planning tools and techniques? Fourth, how can plans be well implemented? Let us begin with information and decision making. The first subject is information and information systems. Data are raw facts and observations, where information is data made useful and meaningful for decision making. Note that the useful information meets the test of 5 criteria. First, timely, which means the information is available when needed and it meets deadlines for decision making and action. Second, high quality, which means the information is accurate and it is reliable and it can be used with confidence. Third, complete, which means the information is complete and sufficient for the task at hand, and it's as current and up to date as possible. Fourth, relevant, which means the information is appropriate for the task at hand, and it's free from extraneous or irrelevant material. Fifth, understandable, which means the information is clear and easily understood by the user, and it's free from unnecessary detail. Also, people and organizations perform best when they have available to them the right information at the right time at the right place. This function served by management information systems that use the latest technologies to collect and organize and distribute data. Information systems serve the variety of needs described in figure 7.1 in the next slide. The figure you see explains that internal and external information flows are essential to problem solving and decision making in organizations. When analyzing the figure in the last slide, we can find within organizations, people need vast amounts of internal information to make decisions and solve problems in their daily work. And they need information from their immediate work setting and from other parts of the organization. So, internal information flows downward in the form of goals and instructions and feedback. And it flows horizontally in ways that assist in cross-functional coordination and problem solving. Also, it flows upward as performance reports, suggestions for improvement, and even policy and personnel disputes. Note that information in the external environment is accessed, and managers use this intelligence information to deal with customers and competitors and other stakeholders such as government agencies and creditors and suppliers and shareholders and community members. Organizations also send vast amounts of public information to stakeholders and the external environment. This often takes the form of advertising and public relations campaigns, social media posts, and financial reports that serve a variety of purposes, including image building and product promotion and financial documentation and damage control. The manager as an information processor. The figure you see explains the manager as an information processor and the nerve center for planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Also, managers must have three basic competences, which are analytical competency, information competency, and technological competency. Technological competency means the ability to understand the new technologies and to use them to their best advantage. Information competency means the ability to locate and gather and organize and display information. Analytical competency means the ability to evaluate and analyze information to make actual decisions and solve real problems. Types of decision environments. First, certain environment. Alternative courses of action and their outcomes are known to decision maker. So, we have low risk of failure and programmed decision. Second, risk environment. Decision maker views alternatives and their outcomes in terms of probabilities. Third, uncertain environment. Decision maker doesn't know all alternatives and outcomes, even as probabilities. So, we have high risk of failure and non-programmed decision. The decision-making process. The figure you see explains 5 steps of the decision-making process. Step 1, find and define the problem. Step 2, generate and evaluate alternative solutions. Step 3, choose a preferred course of action. Step 4, implement the decision. Step 5, evaluate results. And the double check ethical reasoning is important in this process. Decision-making models. We have two major models. The first one is the classical model, where manager acts in perfect world. The characteristics of the classical model are: first, structured problem, clearly defined, certain environment, and complete information, and all alternatives and consequences known. So the manager chooses absolute best among alternatives, which means optimizing a decision. The second model is behavioral model, and the manager acts with cognitive limitations. And the characteristics of this model is unstructured problem, not clearly defined, and uncertain environment, and incomplete information, and not all alternatives and consequences known. So the manager choose first satisfactory alternative, which means satisfying decision. The second major part of this lecture is planning processes and techniques. Let us begin with why and how do managers plan. Planning is the process of setting performance objectives and determining what should be done to accomplish them. A plan is a set of intended actions for accomplishing important goals and objectives. There are 5 steps in the planning process. First, define your objectives. Second, determine where you stand vis-a-vis your objectives. Third, develop your premises regarding future conditions. Fourth, identify and choose among alternative ways of accomplishing objectives. Fifth, implement action plans and evaluate results. Note that the benefits of planning include better focus and flexibility, and action orientation, and coordination, and control, and finally, time management. What types of plans do managers use? Short-term plans tend to cover a year or less. Long-term plans extend up to 3 years or more. Strategic plans set critical long-range directions, where operational plans are designed to implement strategic plans. Note that policies are plans that set guidelines for the behavior of organizational members. Procedures and rules are plans that describe actions to be taken in specific situations. Budgets are plans that allocate resources to activities or projects. What are some useful planning tools and techniques? First, forecasting, which attempts to predict what might happen in the future. Note that forecasting is a planning aid, but not a planning substitute. Second, contingency planning identifies alternative courses of action that can be implemented if and when circumstances change. Scenario planning analyzes the implications of alternative versions of the future. Fourth, planning through benchmarking uses external and internal comparisons to identify best practices for possible adoption. How can plans be well implemented? Great or SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Goals can have negative consequences, including unethical or illegal behavior, when they are poorly managed and set unrealistically high. A hierarchy of objectives helps to align goals from top to bottom in organizations. Also, goal alignment is facilitated by a participative process that clarifies performance objectives for individuals and teams and identifies support that can and should be provided by managers. Note that participation and involvement open the planning process to valuable inputs from people whose efforts are essential to the effective implementation of plans. The figure you see explains the goal alignment in a sample hierarchy of objectives. Goal alignment between team leader and the team member. They jointly plan, which means set objectives and set standards and choose actions with each other. But they individually act, which means the member performs tasks and the leader provides the needed support. Finally, they jointly control, which means review results and discuss implications with each other.